Okay. Hi, everybody. Waving. Hi, wave. Lots of people joining on here. Just to let you guys know, the main things happening over on YouTube. So,
We are on YouTube, everybody. Yeah, definitely stay tuned here, but also check us out on YouTube, whichever you prefer. But main thing over on YouTube for sure.
hi. Nice haircut, Paul.
Thank you so much. For you, free. DM me.
The YouTube channel is As Told by Canadian Immigrants. Um, if I can get the link in here. Oh, there. I don't think I can without making something go wrong. But
Yeah.
it's As Told by Canadian Immigrants. Um, you should find it if you go over to YouTube. We're live over there. It's live now. It's a little bit delayed, but that's fine. It's almost 6 o'clock, and we are the new generation of early Jamaicans.
Hey,
But
hey, hey.
good to see everybody. Good to see a couple people on here. Oh, I'm here. So there's some people logging in on YouTube as well. Hi, everybody over on YouTube. Nice to see you guys. I was really looking forward to this. We've been planning this for a little while. Was really looking forward to coming on here, being live, showing everybody our faces, giving them time to talk to us. So we're just gonna let people funnel in for a little
Yeah.
while before we start. Um, it's 5:59, so we have a minute to start. There's people from different time zones, different things. So just hoping everybody is good.
Yeah. See some people popping in. Odd Smith, big up, big up. Thanks for joining, Makisha. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Yeah, yeah. I think someone asked what is my IG. So my IG, you should be able to see it here, paul.e.mcallister. Yeah, Christina's IG, of course, as told by Canadian immigrants. And again, we're over on YouTube, Christina's channel, as told by Canadian immigrants.
Yes. Okay, it's 6 o'clock, guys. So we're gonna get this thing started. Kick off here. More people will funnel in as time goes by. So until then, welcome everybody. It's so good to be on here with Paul. It's so good to kind of I haven't had a live in over a year. So it's good to be on here live, see everybody, here, get some feedback. We have two different devices and cameras going on, guys. So don't worry about where I'm looking. Just know that we're here. Yeah. So Paul and I, it's so interesting how we got together because last night I was actually going over the history. So our one of Paul's good friend, I'm gonna say our good friend because now he's like my friend, but like one of Paul's friend Adrian. So big up Adrian if you're on here yet, hopefully. Even if you're
Big
not
up,
here yet, you'll
Adrian.
see it later. But big up Adrian, who kind of just made a connection. He kind of reached out to me. He was just coming to Canada. He was, talking about my channel, asking a couple questions, and then he was like, "Oh, by the way, this guy Paul, he has an immigration channel too. He's cool. Check him out. You guys can probably link up." And that was in September of 2019, right? But you know what? To not make the time seem so long, 2020 don't count. 2020 is a leap
True.
year. Like when February skip a day, we just skip the year 2020. So technically it's just last year, I think. And yeah, which we've been trying to get together since then, but you guys know, then I got pregnant and then I had a baby and then I was kind of out of the scene for a little bit. So it never really happened, but I'm so happy that it finally happened. And I don't think that there is actually a better time than now to have had this. We have full stories kind of and exciting things happening. And yeah, so Paul is here and we're connected and yeah.
Yeah. And a part of this, as you guys know, thank you guys, everybody, for watching our tell all. We went so many, we had 4 main videos, then we had 3 extras, 7 videos total. Thank you guys for watching. And effectively, what we wanted to do with this live is just connect with you guys again, channel some questions and just chill, have fun. have some dialogue around immigration, continue to share our story, hear your stories, whatever way we can help and just keep that dialogue going and that conversation going and help you guys through the process, as well as navigate our own immigration process as we continue to go through it, right? Because we're all in it.
Done with immigration.
I tell you. But yeah. So we're all in it. So we just wanted to join up with you guys here on this live. As mentioned, we're on YouTube on Kristina's channel. So yeah, we're going to get it started, jump into it, and just hopefully have some fun today and mix and mingle with our awesome community for sure.
Yep, and I want to check in with everybody that's here. There's a couple people on IG, there's a couple of people on YouTube. Tell us where you are, tell us what country you're in so we can know which parts of the globe we're covering. I do see a couple Jamaicans on here. I do see a couple names that I recognize. Tell me in the chat where you guys are. People in Jamaica, getting a lot of hearts. Wow. Hi, people. Thank you. Jamaica, yes. Sue is in Jamaica. Big up. Yadi.
Big up.
Jamaica again from Trish.
Big up. I see Stephanie here over on YouTube says that she so wishes that she was in Jamaica. She misses home so much. Been over 3 years now. So big up.
That's a long time.
Yep.
Jamaica. Yes, lots of the Bahamas. Welcome. Canada. Hi, home. How's it doing? I hear that it snowed like 2 days ago or so.
I heard it so.
Trinidad,
big ups.
Monique is a good old faithful. Hi, Monique.
Yeah.
See you.
Hey, Monique.
Presently in Canada, but from Jamaica. Cool.
Nice.
Canada. All right, so it looked like we're Caribbean and Canadian right now.
Yeah. Saw somebody on YouTube saying North Cyprus.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, jam down. Yes. All right, so I hope people all over the place, it seems, which is good to know. And yes, like the whole topic right here and the whole point of kind of giving you guys this live platform is to ask some questions, but also to kind of get some updates as to where Paul and I are. And some people say they want to move to Canada. Now, a lot of the questions or some of the questions that you might ask are probably already covered in videos, so we might do it briefly and kind of direct you to a video. But also, what I've actually added to the bottom of the YouTube channel in the description is a link that we kind of have open for this live only. That if you actually want immigration consultant, which Paul is, by the way, Paul is a licensed immigration consultant. He can, legally give you advice. I can only give you my opinion. So he, down there in the description in YouTube, you can get that link. You can go fill out the information, tell us what specifically you need, what immigration you need right now if you want an immigration consultant. Like if you have general questions, fine. But the main purpose of it is if you're serious about taking the next step and getting an immigration consultant. I'm not going to tell you that I know all the immigration consultants in the world, but I find Paul very reasonable, very affordable, and it's somebody that I trust. Clearly, have built some sort of a relationship with Paul and just endorse his business and his experience in the field. So definitely check out that link.
Thank you so much for that, Kristina.
No problem at all. So Paul, what's going on with you now? The story kind of left off with you saying, I'm going to send me the citizenship test in 2 weeks. I need to study. So have you started studying, sir?
I did. I have my wife and I started studying for a citizenship test. As you mentioned, we did get the link to do it. So the citizenship test is now being done online, which is great generally. But there's a bit of a little itch to that. We kind of mentioned that in the video, but as you guys may know, we're currently in the Cayman Islands, not in Canada currently, but you have to be physically present in Canada to do your citizenship test. So effectively, we did our studying and did all our preparation and, continue to do that just to stay abreast of things and, keep it fresh in our minds. But the intention is to fly back to Canada as soon as feasible and practicable and then get the test done. but we're all set. I'm definitely looking forward to doing our citizenship test and hopefully one day becoming Canadian citizens.
What year did Canada become Canada?
Wrong. Boy,
you know what? You probably could have said anything, and I probably would have been like, maybe, because I don't remember.
I tell you. So that's effectively where it's at with me. I know Kristina was ramping up, getting ready to head back to work. I don't know if she's done that as yet. Where are you at now, Kristina? What's going on with your journey right now?
I am back at work. This is week 3. We're going into week 4 back at work. It's busy. It feels like I didn't leave. And thankfully, even though I was kind of out of work, disconnected completely, my brain didn't slow leak, so I remember how to do things, and my brain seems to be switched on. So yes, and I'm working remotely still, so I'm still in Jamaica, and just there's a bunch of restrictions still with flights. Are you hearing dogs? Are you hearing dogs barking in the background?
I'm not.
Okay, good. Yes, I'm still in Jamaica. There's restrictions. There's no flights right now. No flights until the end of June, and we don't know if they're going to extend it. So right now I'm just kind of playing it by ear, going day by day, kind of figuring it out still. But I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to hold on my job still and still show up. That's what I'm at.
Sounds good.
So,
yeah, we seeing the questions coming in, and we're definitely going to get to the questions, guys. Definitely.
All right. Well, if we can probably go back and forth a little bit if we want to answer some of the questions and then jump in, because I have a couple of questions about as an immigration consultant, and I need some advice. So I'm going to ask some questions. But before I get into that, let's see what questions we have. We have a couple of people. I want to move to Canada. It's my dream country. Yes, George, will you help me with the process? Paul will certainly help you with the process. And if you're truly interested, the link is, here's what I can do for you, Mr. George. I can copy that link for you and pin it in the chat, which will help you guys to get connected with Paul.
Yeah, for sure, George.
Help you with the process.
Yeah, for sure.
You're serious about it. So pin that, and you guys can go there, fill out the information, the specific question that you want, because it's good to have a little bit of knowledge. I mean, Paul can brief you, but there's a couple of videos on my channel. There's a couple of videos on Paul's channel. Remember to go over to Paul's channel. It's Kenny's Concepts, and subscribe as well. So that answered that question. Did you see any particular questions, Paul, that you want to tackle?
No. For that question, let me just jump in and mention. So, sometimes the question is broadly, how can I come to Canada? Help me come to Canada. And as you can imagine, Canada has literally over 100 immigration programs which persons can take advantage of, right? But of course, each immigration program will have its own eligibility criteria and requirements. And effectively, that creates a subjective nature to what may be applicable for you and how you may transition to Canada, so just keep that in mind. It's definitely not just a one question there about. We have to get some background information and see as best as possible which one of those programs you may be eligible for, and then we can definitely take it from there. So just a general note right there.
Nice. I do see a question that I'm quite interested in, because I think my experience going into Canada as an international student, I had my aunt there, I had my cousin there as family to help me get going. So there's not very much I had to figure out. So I see Roshi. Is it a wise idea to open a Canadian bank account as an international student? For sure, definitely. And bank accounts as a student, you don't have any bank fees. Like as a non-student, you have like monthly bank fees and stuff. Usually bank fees are waived for students for the time that you are a student. My first bank account was with TD. No bias to TD really. Like I think that most banks have student accounts and have those same same benefits, which is no charges. But it definitely helps you to have your bank account going when they think it fits to give you a credit card, which is, it's a necessary evil kind of to help to build credit. You'll have a debit card because if you without a Canadian bank account, you're kind of using your money from whichever country or cash, which isn't always nice if you're spending a large amount of money or if you want to buy something online. So definitely Canadian bank accounts as an international student, any one of the banks can help you. Some might have more benefits than others. The three that come to mind are TD, Scotiabank, and RBC. For me, is what comes to mind. So yeah, for sure. My aunt had me set up. She had my bus card, everything. So I didn't have to figure that out. So I'm glad that you're here to ask that question. That we could help you out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, get into the financial sector through accounts, little credit, have a little credit card, start building that credit because you never know. Ultimately, you may transition to permanent residency, and you're going to have to leverage that credit, while being temporary as well as on your transition to permanent residency. So definitely get everything done while you are there as an international student for sure.
And I see a follow-up question to that where they're saying that I have a Scotiabank account in Jamaica. Would I need to open another one in Canada? Or can I maintain the same account? No, it is Scotiabank, the line of Scotiabank. I think there were ones under one umbrella, but I'm pretty sure the one in Jamaica is called the Bank of Nova Scotia. And I think Canada's changed theirs to Scotiabank Canada. But they're not the same company necessarily. It's not, there's no cross-border relationship or anything like that. So you might as well pretend it had another name, kind of a thing. So yes, you're not going to be able to carry over your credentials or your bank information or anything like that. So you definitely have to open a new one when you go to Scotiabank in Canada. But thanks for that question, Gentle Giant. Just looking at the questions here.
Yeah.
Can I work full-time while waiting for my postgraduate work permit? Now, I have an answer to this question, but Paul, Mr. Immigration Consultant, for sure can tell you, and you can trust it. But listen, always do your research. Always know that you get information from someone you trust. Don't ever act upon somebody's advice without knowing that they are a professional and they're giving you advice that is facts and not opinion. Not that I do that, but I'm just saying there's people out there that try to scam you. So can I work full time?
Yeah, definitely. So what happens is that obviously in order to even be eligible for your postgrad work permit, you want to apply within a certain time, reaching the end of your studies, right? So you want to definitely put in that application, and then from that application sending, you will be able to start working and getting your thing going, pending feedback from IRCC on your final result. Ultimately, they will come back and say yay or nay. Hopefully that's a yay, and you just continue going, pushing through. Generally, sometimes that can even be subject to employers, because some employers may not even extend employment without a work permit in hand. So that's kind of a technicality that you'd have to work through as well. But generally, there are prospects for you to start working full time at the end of your program once you've made your requisite applications and going through your process towards getting a permit.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Once you start working, say for instance, right now I know with COVID, permanent postgraduate applications are taking long. So if the application takes longer than the expiration date on your study permit, my knowledge is that you can continue to work. You will be under what's called implied status until you get an answer regarding your work permit. And that's still true?
Absolutely. And that's generally applicable towards and throughout all types of immigration applications. Generally, implied status is held once a submission has been made to IRCC, pending a final decision from IRCC. That is correct.
Okay. And I've seen people who have had a situation where they know that they can work, but they're not getting any jobs, and then the thing expire. And I think that is when it's harder to get a job. You're still under implied status because you've submitted your application, but some employers, like you said, don't know that, and they might not extend. So it's really employer specific or based or whatever. Okay, cool.
For sure.
So I hope that answers your question. Daniel, can you work? Yep. All right.
I see a question over here on IG. Have you guys heard about the possible changes to come to Express Entry? This is from Mickey. Hey, Mickey, thanks for the question. I'm not sure exactly which changes he's speaking of, but from my experience, I know, if Canada's immigration programs continue to evolve. One of the changes to Express Entry that was kind of more recent was being able, for instance, to get additional points if you have a brother and sister in Canada. Additional points for being a French speaker. So Canada is continually going through reviews of their respective programs and seeing how best to enhance these programs to help persons. So I'm not aware of any specific incoming changes to Express Entry necessarily, but generally know that Canada is always on the ball in trying to enhance programs and make them a bit more suited for their immigration targets and what they're trying to achieve through immigration.
So nothing detrimental.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I see somebody here. This is not really a question, I don't think, but it's a statement that is saying so a lot of Jamaicans are waiting on study permits from January and February. Wow, it's what now, June? Is still waiting, while other persons in other countries who either applied within the last, so some people get in there, some people don't. Some people in Jamaica even who have applied in January, February have gotten theirs. I do know that there's a backlog, but I remember asking you about this when we were talking, Paul, because I thought it was oh my God, you can go to school in Canada from your house in Jamaica and save some money, but it sounds like the visa process is a lot more, I don't know, critical, or they're a lot more critical. Is it harder to get visas right now? And especially with the wait time, how's that, if you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, we're still going through a pandemic, right? Canada is going through its third wave, continue to be hit by delays resulting from the pandemic. So as you mentioned, there are persons that have submitted from X amount of time ago, what would have usually been a 4 to 8 week process to get a response. You're waiting months to get a response. And rest assured, this is impacting study applications, permanent residency applications, sponsorship applications. All of immigration programs right now being applied to are going through delays. So don't worry about it. Another thing that you mentioned is that you've heard of persons that may have submitted after you, that may have heard something before you. That's not a benchmark to use, trying to benchmark who here versus who here and the timing of that, because what I've found and what it seems is that it kind of depends on which IRCC office is actually going through your immigration package and making a decision in that regard. So, you may have 2 applicants for a study permit. One of those applications is in Ottawa, the next is in Montreal, and different timelines for completion, somewhat it would seem, right? But all in all, just hang in there. What I tell people is that, put it this way, IRCC has not forgotten your application. So it won't get lost anywhere in transit or anything like that. Just hang tight, be patient. Delays are there, but hopefully they're working through to getting those resolved. But everybody impacted right now, everybody. Yeah. So you're definitely not alone.
Everybody everywhere.
Absolutely.
I do know somebody who was in that situation, but it was last year, and it took about 4 months to get a student visa, and still the classes are online, and he's in Jamaica still. I'm hoping to catch an interview with him very soon to kind of tell you guys what his experience has been doing that. I think that's kind of like a heaven on earth, provided everything goes smoothly. And you save so much money, staying at home, eating your mother cooked food, Yeah. All right, there's a question here from DNick092. If I apply to IRCC Express Entry Pool in January, what do you think my chances are of hearing from IRCC by the end of this year, taking into consideration the border closure and travel restrictions? Express Entry. When it comes to Express Entry, it does depend on how much points you have, Mr. DNick. What are your points, Nick? If you could, I hope we don't lose you somewhere in this chat, but if you could message in the chat what your points are, and then maybe we can be a little bit more specific to tell you what your chances are. Not that we ever know really.
No.
There's really no knowing, but if you have X amount of points, you know that the chance is either greater or lesser.
Yeah.
So let us know what your
Yeah. And just jumping on that, in particularly for express entry, what's happening is that, and generally, Canada is focusing on inland applicants, so persons that are in Canada. So as you would see, there hasn't been draws for international persons. Most of them have been CC draws, which are persons that have Canadian experience, qualified and eligible for the Canadian Experience Class program on the Express Entry. So yeah, those persons outside of Canada, yeah, there may be some weight again, just based on border closures and what's going on right now with travel for sure.
And I think I mentioned at the beginning is that one thing I find with Paul and Paul's immigration services that I find him considerably affordable compared to, for example, some immigration consultants in Canada or even in Jamaica in terms of what they ask up front just to have a conversation. So, but George, I do find that Paul is very affordable and very reasonable. And there's something that was mentioned in our chat is that what if you don't need help with the whole process? Like if Paul can just be a second pair of eyes on your application, or something that you can that's something that you can negotiate so that you're not spending a money on a full car service when you just needed your tires to be changed. Yeah, so definitely hit out.
Absolutely, reach out, George. Reach out. I'm here. Just reach out.
Yeah. Okay, tried 2 times so far for the school program and got denied. So sorry, Mysterious. Sorry to hear that. If it's any consolation, you're not alone. There's a lot of rejections going around. But just make sure if you find that that's happening repeatedly, I think that hiring help could help. That's what my experience was when I got rejected. Like you want to build a strong profile, you want to make sure that you're going to a school. This is a conversation that somebody and I have had, and I hope that you're on here. I don't remember your name, but it was somebody who was saying that they got into a school. It's a private school. There is no postgraduate work permit after that program, right? Because it only designated schools can give you programs to give you that work permit. But she said that she wanted to take a chance anyway and pray for the best. I don't recommend that. Chances are your visa might be rejected in any case because they logically, the immigration officer is going to be questioning, why are you trying to go to the private school? What are your plans after? Are you leaving our country? So if you find mysterious that you keep on getting rejected, make sure you're going to the right school, the right program that will give you a postgraduate work permit. Make sure you have enough money and you have a strong profile. Reach out to Paul to see if he can help you. Like, of course, if you're serious, guys, of course, we want to be here and want to help you and give you free information, of course, but Paul is a professional, and so if you want to retain him as an immigration consultant, just go in knowing that that's what your intent is and kind of be serious about it for sure. All right, so good evening. For applying for a study visa for a 4-year program, should I be able to show 4 years worth of funds, tuition and living, or is there some way around this? And this is a very common question. This question actually, Michael, we covered in one of our videos, in the Q&A video that we posted, because I asked Paul this very question. So Paul, if you want to reiterate for Michael what you said.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael, you got to show that funds, right? And even what I explain to people is that sometimes circumstances are different. So it may not be money in an account. Some people are applying and they have spouses and they get spousal support, or their spouse is going to have continued employment, so they can show letters to say, hey, my spouse earns X, or my family member or such. But generally, in a nutshell, RCC wants to see that you can fully financially pay for your stay in Canada, going to school, as well as ongoing living expenses while you are there. So yes, you have to show that upfront via bank account or some alternative communication of how you'll be getting funding over that four-year period, for sure.
Yeah, 4 years is it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Um, yeah, but I believe in you, Michael. I hope I answered your question. Um, there was somebody that asked if what is the impact of marriage while being an international student? There is immigration, unless I don't believe that there is any impact while you're an international student. It
Yeah, so if
could it could look differently when you're applying for your postgraduate work permits, but I think, does it matter how long you've been married for, Paul, or how long you've been common law for? Because I know that if you're getting a postgraduate work permit, your spouse usually is able to get a work permit alongside, or if your spouse came with you, right? Is
yeah,
there?
so yeah. So that's effectively the impact. So the impact will be more so on your spouse and what they will now have available to them in terms of their immigration prospects. Does it impact you as an international student? Not necessarily. IRCC not saying you can't get married while you're a student. You can definitely get married. And then if it is that you do get married, then your spouse would now be eligible, contingent on your status as an international student, to secure status for themselves, usually via open work permits. That's generally how it goes. So that's the impact, which is technically a positive one. So yeah, definitely something to explore when that time comes.
Nice. Um, Definitely makes things easier when you're applying for permanent residency instead of having to do two
Absolutely.
applications like myself here. Um, all right. Does it require English proficiency test when you're from an English native speaking country to Canada? Absolutely, Mr. George. Yes, you do have to do the test if you are living in an English speaking country. We all have to do the test. And it's easy. It's an English language, an English test, but it's also like a English competency test, where it's like testing your speaking skills, your listening skills, all of that stuff. And just because you're from an English speaking country doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at that. So yes. Please respond to my question, Melissa. Okay. I have a visitor visa. I went to Canada in 2019. Would I be able to apply for express entry, seeing that I have a valid visa?
Yeah, so that's definitely a question that I get sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. So some persons have come to me and effectively the want, or what they're implying is that because they've had a visitor visa and had some travel history to Canada, that automatically, or that may present a benefit for them in a permanent residency situation. And unfortunately, it's not quite so, right? Yeah, permanent residency is a complete different ball game when compared to visa. Obviously, in your holistic assessment by an immigration officer, they'll look at everything, right? As long as they have it in front of you. So they will look at your travel history, if you have any, and kind of see, just make sure you haven't had any breaches while being a visitor in Canada. But in terms of that positively impacting your residency, or prospects for residency, or giving you a chance at residency, not quite so. You have to fulfill the eligibility requirements specific to that particular PR program. So yeah, that's definitely the answer for that question.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
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 you have to do a little bit of show them that they can provide for them country.
absolutely.
Stephanie, please answer the question above. Okay, Stephanie Clark. Paul, I'm currently in Canada and applying under the new stream. Oh, I want to ask about this new stream. So maybe this can
Nice.
lead into that. So you can answer her question and then tell me about that. So she's in Canada applying under the new stream for her children and common law spouse. He is, however, in the army abroad, but he's worried if and when I get my PR, if he'll end the contract. I don't know what the question is.
Yeah. Yeah, so Stephanie, I'm reading the questions and I kind of a bit lost because so you said that you're applying under the new stream for your children and common law. I think maybe what you get to there is that you're applying for your spouse and children to come along with you. So if that's the right interpretation, let me know. And then you go on to say whoever is abroad. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure exactly what the connection with the question is. And again, Stephanie provides some clarity, but I'll answer just generally based on what I'm getting from it. So of course, the new streams do allow you, like other PR programs, to also have accompanying family members, being, your spouse generally and your children. So you should be all good to go there, and your spouse and children can either be in Canada or abroad. So that is not a problem. You mentioned your spouse being abroad in the army. Whenever it is subject to the timelines that will be prescribed by your co-PR, when you actually do get permanent residency, your husband will have a certain amount of time to land in Canada. So from that, you'll be able to assist the timeline and kind of assess the timeline and kind of decide, what's the timelines for your husband in terms of having to land in Canada. But generally, yeah, you should be good to go as long as all goes well with your application and you put forward your spouse and your children on your PR application. Then generally things should be good, and there shouldn't be any hiccups in that regard. Subject to assessment of your profile and your application.
One thing I'm thinking of though, because she's answered out, she's kind of added some more here, saying that he's worried about having to end his contract before he's supposed to. So I think, let us say his contract is until 2023, and you get you get a PR, and they said must land in Canada by December 2021. Then you might. It's gonna be like, how flexible is contract? Does he have time off? Because he can come to Canada, be in Canada for 3 months or so, and then go back to do his service. It might be something that they're understanding of. Is it the army in the US? Which country is it? I feel like then you'd have a problem if he's not allowed to leave for 3 months. Then maybe. Maybe. But if that's a thing, then maybe you don't have to apply for him right now, right, Paul? Like, she could apply for the child, get the child, and later on you can do a spousal sponsorship if you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. You could do that. But off the bat, I'd say if you can add them now, work it out.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself through another. Yeah, don't put yourself through another.
And that application is process. Like, you definitely need to hire someone.
Yeah. So if you can get in with this PR to PR pathway with your entire family, I would definitely implore you to do that for sure.
Cool. All right. So since we're on that topic, now, so I know that there are three new streams.
Six technically, but it's broadly 3, but then kind of split up. But yeah, absolutely.
There are new programs, pathways. I read a little bit on them. It wasn't very clear. Like, it didn't have a name. You know what I mean? Like Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. It never had like it's this and it's that. I just see that them going to invite so many people from so many places and blah. So if you could very simply tell us about these new streams in a way that is not the way how I read it.
Yeah. So before I jump into the stream themselves, so effectively in creating or in explaining why these streams were created, again, we're going through a pandemic. And what Canada is finding is that based on the pandemic, they're having challenges with meeting their immigration targets. So what Canada has done and continues to do is try to create new programs, change programs to effectively benefit those in Canada, going about their immigration processes. So effectively, what they've done is the official name is temporary public policy. So that's what it is. It's a temporary public policy. And effectively what they're commonly known as are TR, so that's temporary resident to PR pathways, and they're extended to international students workers in the healthcare system, as well as other designated essential occupations. So in a nutshell, that's what they are. They have caps on them. So in all, it's a total of 90,000 people that Canada is looking to invite for permanent residency, all of whom will be in Canada, currently present in Canada, either having gone to school or fulfilling one of those roles in an essential job function to help them through the pandemic. In a nutshell, that's what it is. Yeah, I've had the benefit of assisting a few people through that program recently. So that's good. It's ongoing. Good luck. I can't remember who it was, but good luck to you, the person that actually says that they applied through that program. Good luck. It's a great program. What you found, Kristina, and everybody, is that a lot of people that wouldn't have ordinarily had a easy way to PR are now finding themselves with a bit of sunshine at the end of the tunnel with these programs. So definitely take advantage of it if you haven't. Yeah, obviously the international students one is actually closed. They've reached their cap. But the essential worker programs are still up. So definitely, if you're in Canada by chance and eligible for any of those temporary pathways, definitely check them out. They're great prospects for sure.
Somebody, Shamari said, let's call it temporary express entry 2. It's like temporary resident express entry 2, because it's basically, I guess, kind of like an express entry, but for people that are already there, I guess. Okay. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Nice and brief. It's sad to know that the cap has been reached and that one is closed. Maybe they'll open it up again. I do know somebody that was trying to get in for that, so hopefully he got through with that.
And positive signaling for that as well. Obviously I'm not in immigration over in Canada, but there have been some positive mentions by the minister as to potentially increasing those caps for international students. So definitely, if it is that you missed out on that initial 40,000, 50,000, whatever that cap was, definitely stay tuned and stay on the ball with the possibility of those caps being increased for sure.
That's cool too. You know why? Because if they're taking in international students, I remember like me, there's no express entry when I finished school, right? Express entry was going to open the following year, and I was scared. I didn't know which one was going to work for me, what was going to do. Luckily, I still got my 1-year work permit, but it's still just a year. It's limited. There's so many things that can make that 1 year not even count, and you have to be shipped back. And I found a lot of my batchmates, the program that I did with them was either their second program or they were going to go and do another program to get a longer work permit, and that's thousands of dollars. So I like that they're kind of opening it up, making it a little bit easier for international students, because it really eases the stress of somebody who has a 1-year work permit, right? Because sometimes it's kind of hard to get a job, and now in COVID, I don't even know how easy people are getting jobs that count towards express entry. So hopefully they do open up the cap. They see that international students have the potential that they want to have, and things go well for them. So
absolutely. Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned. That is the question that I had for Paul, because I didn't really know anything about those programs. I was going to go and research them. All right, looking for just some more questions. There's tons of questions here, but I'm just trying to quickly find one that I can read. How can I start the process, Melissa? You can reach out to Paul. You can click that link, fill out your information, get through to Paul. But also, I do have a video that is how to move to Canada, 5 ways to move to Canada. And that helps you to just do a self-assessment of where you are at and see what options are available to you. Now, there's way more than 5 options, but I give you the 5, I guess, basic and most popular. I start with express entry. So you definitely want to see, can you go to school in Canada? Can you work in Canada? Can you go through the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program? There's lots of things. So just the best place to start is know what your options are first, and then which ones are applicable or most attractive to you. And if you think you need help, definitely get an immigration consultant, which Paul is, by the way. Did I mention that Paul is an immigration consultant, guys? He is. And I know we did a video saying, Kristina, are you going to do the immigration consultant course? I thought about it. I guess I'm still thinking, I don't know.
Drop a comment in the comments if you want to see Kristina become a RCIC. Drop a comment. Give her some encouragement.
I don't need no encouragement. But yeah, drop some comments if you guys think I should get on that path. I mean,
yeah. So O'Neill, so I've seen a question here from O'Neill. Good evening. Up to what age can someone be filed for, and who can file for who? That's a good question, O'Neill. So what you're speaking about right there is effectively family sponsorship, generally, and the family classes that are allowed to really sponsor each other, spouses, common law partners, conjugal partners, and then children. So your well, the person in Canada's children, or the person's children of the person that is being sponsored. So it's that class of family members.
Stepchildren? Is that?
Stepchildren. Yeah. That's definitely what it would be, kind of thing.
Okay.
But generally, it doesn't go across. So you can't sponsor your brothers or your sisters or your nieces or your nephews or your. It doesn't go that horizontal. It's kind of up and down the family hierarchy, effectively.
So if I have a rich auntie, all right, she's not rich. Let's just say I have an auntie with some money. Uncle, a family member. They don't have any children, no dependents.
Yes.
Financially, they're good.
Yes.
Can they sponsor me?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. Yeah. Okay. So that's technically how it works as of right now. Outside of so again, it's spouses, common law partner, conjugal partner, and then effectively children. Dependent children, the age cap is 21. So if you have a child that is under the age of 21, they'd be able to fall within that sponsorship age limit. If you're outside of 21, the only time where consideration will be given is if that person has physical or mental ailments that prevent them from taking care of themselves. But if everything is okay in that sentiment, then 21 is the general cutoff age for children.
Okay, cool. All right, there's some questions over in the question part on Instagram. I'm just seeing if there's anything that haven't answered just yet. What is a conjugal partner?
Yeah, so the definition of conjugal partner. So effectively, it's partnership where there's an inability to be physically with that person given certain situations and circumstances, whether it's prescribed law in your particular country, religion, certain types of barriers to being physically together with that particular person, but of course having a bond, as a relationship and a partner.
But not married.
Regard. Not married, exactly. Not married.
So for example, I have a common, so you guys were, the person would have had to initially have been common law.
Yeah, so remember, so the difference between common law prescribes living, you have to live together and have to be physically together, where conjugal partnership, that doesn't have to be there, but again, it has to be premised on certain barriers to doing that. Yeah.
Do you have to have been common law before you were conjugal?
No, not necessarily. No, not necessarily.
Okay, cool. I think we answered some of these questions. Yeah, we answered those questions on the side there. So I'm going to go back to here. I am a firefighter for almost 10 years. Kudos to you, Mr. Firefighter. Thank you for your service, for sure, wherever you are. I want to study business supply chain operations in Canada. What do you think? And I think the first thing that's coming to mind, and I'm throwing the question over to Paul, is just, I know that sometimes when you study something that is far off from what you are or anything that you're involved in, they might question it. So what do you think about Mr. Firefighter?
Yeah, no, that's a good point from Kristina. I think explore whatever you want to explore, but as Kristina mentioned, in the assessment of any immigration application, immigration officer is going to ask certain questions, right? So having been a firefighter for 10 years, why do you now want to study supply chain, business supply chain studies, right? So that's a question that you're going to have to answer and effectively demonstrate to that immigration officer that you are genuine in your want to study further in Canada as a temporary international student and effectively leave Canada at the end of your stint, right? What Canada is trying to I guess not have happen in those instances. They don't want people just randomly taking up education just to then ultimately get into Canada and go through the ropes. They want a certain level of genuineness as it relates to your intention to study and your intention to be a temporary resident in Canada. So that's the only consideration there. So it's not a no. It's not to say that you have to be a firefighter for the rest of your life or not take on additional studies or further studies in whatever field, but just bear that in mind and know that you need to articulate that to the immigration officer for sure.
Cool. Sounds good. Well said. I'm looking for, if you just want to grab the next question. I see sure. Where somebody's asked. I see George, Mr. Biggest Fan. George, you want some information on the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. I'm tagging the playlist.
Nice. So I seen one. Natalie Brown, thanks for the questions. I'm going to read it out here. I know you mentioned there are several pathways to migrate to Canada. Based on your knowledge, is it best to enter through a study program or through employment? So that's a very good question. Both of which, are effectively temporary ways. So whether you go through a study permit or you're able to get employment, both of which are temporary ways to get into Canada and then ultimately become permanent residents, hopefully, subject to whatever eligibility criteria and you meeting those criteria. The thing to consider here off the bat is do what is right for you and what you want to do. So if you want to study, study. If you want to seek employment, seek employment. The consideration there, though, is that to get employment in Canada is not the easiest thing. As you guys may know, barring, being able to be eligible for open work permit based on a spouse or family member or any such thing, effectively most the way to get into Canada under employment is via an LMIA, which is a labor market impact assessment. And effectively what that is it's the government's go ahead for an employer to employ a foreign national based on the fact that that employer is unable to seek out that resource in Canada. So it is a strenuous process. You usually find that persons that are best aligned for those types of prospects are either persons that have a very specified skill set, or just a skill set that's generally not in Canada as much, So that's something to consider. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'd maybe jump to say that maybe studying is an easier prospect, because you can apply to school, get an acceptance, start school theoretically. But yeah, that LMIA process and having to go through that definitely can create a hurdle for persons wanting to find employment in Canada for sure.
And just to add to that question, because you asked, well, either this or that, but then there's other options, right? There is, how Paul came to Canada is through express entry. He didn't go study and go to school, nor did he get a job, So if you are a professional, you can get enough points and you have enough resources to show that you can afford going to Canada, then express entry might be a way for you. So you get the permanent residency, and then when you get there, you decide go to school or go to work. So there's more than one ways to go about it other than those two options. Just putting that there. There's somebody that's asking the same question, so I want to make sure that we address her. It's Tatenda, last name Tatenda. I'm just gonna keep it at Tatenda. Yes, she's asking, can I study and move with my child for that period? And to my understanding, yes, you can get your study permit and also get a permit for your child to come there and go to school and all that stuff. Even your spouse, if you have a spouse, to come and have a work permit. And I think that some of our friends, they have another YouTube platform, had mentioned that, oh dear, I want to get it right. I feel like, so when you're applying, right, for your spouse, Paul, so I have a child and I have a spouse and I got accepted in a school, so I'm going to go and get my study permit. In that same application for my study permit, I should include my spouse and my child, yes? Or is it a separate application that you do afterwards?
Up to you.
Okay, but you can include it as
Absolutely.
one application so that everybody get everything together instead of,
Absolutely.
okay, I got through, here's my study permit, and let me go and apply for my spouse. You can, and I mean, the most efficient thing to do is to do it all at once, right? And then all your family can get and go.
Absolutely. But, you know, we won't necessarily go too much in detail on that. But again, each circumstance is kind of nuanced. There are pros and cons to kind of the two approaches. You know, because what you find, one of the things to tender is that what you will have to now do with each accompanying family member is show funds for that family member or those family members, as well as create a somewhat immigration picture in consideration, right? So it's no longer what is the tender doing, it's what the entire family is coming to Canada to do. Right, so just bear that in mind. But yes, you know, as Kristina mentioned, you can do your application together up front, or you can come to Canada, settle off, getting some feedback there. But yeah, yeah, just a bit, but yeah, but yeah, so yeah, you can come to Canada by yourself or not. It's up to you. And again, there's some pros and cons to the respective approaches that you want to take, you know, and some considerations that you'd have to make for sure.
Right. I'm just trying to do some technological, fix some tech glitches right here. I'm trying to make sure that we don't hear. Paul, can you talk again one more time?
Yeah, man. Hey, Kristina.
Perfect. Okay, so now you're connected and you're hearing me on Instagram still. You're now connected to my AirPods so that we're not hearing my content. I didn't think of that before. Sorry.
Nice.
Blooper. Did I cut you?
No, you didn't. No, okay. No, that was it. So yeah, so just remember that tender, you know, there are going to be some added considerations if you choose to apply with your family.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. How are we doing for time? Oh, snap.
Kristina, so I told Kristina before this live that, you know, we're thinking about time and how long we'd go, but I was telling her that we will be here chatting forever. That's just kind of been our thing, just chatting.
Paul and I can go forever. Clearly.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Let's see.
Yeah. While I try to sort this out and make sure that everything's okay.
Yes. So George came back into the chat and mentioned that I don't understand the pathway to Canada. It sounds so easy, but it's difficult to do. And George, I will just echo that sentiment that Canadian immigration is not easy. It's not easy. The foundation of it is I guess easy in principle. But yeah, there are a lot of logistics and considerations and eligibility requirements that you have to think about. And yeah, it's surely not easy. It's definitely not easy, but possible for sure. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. George's gonna get a prize for most active participant. All right. How do we get to Mr. Paul again? So there's a link that I've pinned in the chat. You can fill out your form. Remember that Paul is a professional, he's an immigration consultant, right? So be willing to talk to
There's a question here. what's the minimum amount of funds required and how likely are you to get into medical field? So I guess that's for study. So generally you're looking at about $10,000 per year per person for living expenses and then tuition on top of that. So whatever your tuition may be. And then that per person amount trends downward if you have more family members, because the consideration is that you'll be in one household, so expenses won't be as high and stuff like that. So there's a chart, a funds chart on the Ircc website that I will definitely try to link in the comments box here just for your reference. But yeah, off the bat for yourself, you're looking at 10,000 per year plus your tuition. In terms of medical field, yeah, in any field is a possibility in Canada, right? It's just kind of if you have the requisite experience and qualifications to get in, and then of course if you can afford it and sustain yourself throughout the program.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Natalie. Thanks for being here. Thank you everybody for logging on and being here. There's people on Instagram. I'm glad we did both. There's people on Instagram. There's people on YouTube. So good to see you guys. So glad that you're here asking questions. Thank you that you guys are participating, and of course your questions are all important. We definitely won't be able to get to all of them, but we're definitely going to try to get to some, and if Paul or I have time to go through them afterwards, as best we can. But I think anyway, or I hope I did. I think I did, yes. So there's a link pinned in the chat. You can always fill that out to ask your specific question. Remember that Paul is an immigration consultant. He's affordable, and definitely helpful and obviously knowledgeable on the subject. So definitely, if you want to seriously hire an immigration consultant, you can reach out. If you just have general questions, you can definitely do it as well. We're going to try our best to get to all of them as best as possible. What are your thoughts on the future of federal skilled worker draws when things go back to normal?
Yeah, good question. Great question. So let me answer that. Obviously, I don't have a glass ball, but what you can imagine or think about is that effectively each draw that is made for FSW is based on the candidates in the pool. Because there are no draws right now, as you can imagine, the candidates in the pool are building, right? There are many candidates in the pool, all of which are qualified, have requisite points. So as you can imagine, when it is that the time comes to now reintroduce FSW draws, I do think that those numbers will be quite high. But over time they will trend downwards as more invitations are released and some of the persons in the pool are eased out of the pool effectively. So you may have a little wait, if you're in the pool right now for FSW. It is what it is. It is what it is. Just try to maximize your points. If you haven't already, any little thing that you can do to maximize your points, get it done, and just kind of be in the pool at your best.
And I think when we're speaking about the three new streams that are really more geared to people who are inland, who are temporary residents already. I got an email that there was a surprise, very low number draw for express entry. They drew 397. I've never seen that number in my history of looking at numbers, never. However, you said it was for only Canadian experience class. You would have already had to be in Canada, worked in Canada for a little while, and then have your thing together. And I think that this is kind of testament to, okay, fine, they did a low surprise draw only for Canadian experience class, but you don't know when they can do a surprise low draw for a federal skilled worker. Just putting it out there, like they might have a low number, but only X amount of people, so you have to like get it there quick. So I think that's kind of like testament to. So you did the calculator, you think you have low points. If you've done the English test, it's worth it to just join the pool, just be in the pool, swimming around, all that stuff. If you've already done the test, now of course use your discretion because the test results expire in 2 years and all that stuff. So within reason, like don't go in with 200 points. But if you have 350, no, that's too low. If you have 400 or 395 or whatever, you don't know when they can do a low number. I'm not saying that they will, but maybe. Yeah, they did a surprise low draw already. So you never know what this new age. I don't think things will ever go back to normal, Shamori.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
this is the new normal now.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kristina. Yeah, if you guys are eligible for the pool, jump in. You know, whatever your scores are, as long as you have everything to get into the pool, jump in for sure. Great one, Kristina.
Adrian, salute.
Salute.
Hi. Hi. For anybody who missed the beginning, Adrian is the one who made this connection between me and Paul years ago, literally. But we're here finally, and it was all made possible because of Adrian. So definitely thank you, Adrian, for looking out for each of us, looking out for the community, looking out for people, because you thought that this would have been a good collaboration. And clearly, you have a crystal ball somewhere there.
Big up yourself, my brother. Respect.
All right. What is your perspective of an Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program versus Express Entry for international students living in New Brunswick? Oh, wow. I like that question, Ricardo. What is your perspective
Very nice
of
question.
Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program versus Express Entry for international students? I think that's a very
That's a very good question, Ricardo. And to that point, I'll definitely say understand the requirements for both because they're vastly different. So of course, your standing in one will differ from your standing in another. So for you, Ricardo, is to assess those requirements, see where you stand in comparison to those requirements, and go with whichever one can work for you. That is effectively it. Express entry, has a bit has higher thresholds on certain things, in terms of funds requirements, English test scores, all of those things. So yeah, it's a bit a steeper hill for express entry somewhat. So if it is that you're seeing some breaks via Atlantic Immigration Pilot, then definitely go that route because you are in the region currently, you are in the Atlantic, going to school there in New Brunswick. So if it is that you've seen a path via Atlantic, I'd definitely say go there. But either way, the ultimate outcome is permanent residency. That is effectively it. As you know, with Atlantic Pilot Program, generally the expectation is that you will be residing in the Atlantic region for a given time or for the foreseeable future. So there may be a bit of considerations to give there. But outside of that, just work whichever program works for you, right? And to get you that PR if that's what's going on.
Cool. There's a question in I saw that. And Ricardo, I do have a video on my channel where I briefly go through the differences between Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program and Express Entry. I think I was a big promoter of the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program back in 2019, which, by the way, guys, is now a permanent program. Before, when I started it, it was like it will run for 3 years and then it will stop. Now they've made it permanent because they like the results. And if you're in New Brunswick, there's so many benefits to being outside of Ontario or British Columbia, Vancouver, because it's probably cost of living is cheaper to be outside of the more popular areas. There's probably arguably more job availability. There's not that much demand, maybe not demand. It's not overpopulated, so it's not like Toronto. And the pathways over there, there's a lot of incentives to be in a rural country, province or stuff. Yeah. So kudos to you for going over to.
And for everybody out there that may be exploring study permit prospects as well, I definitely extend Kristina's sentiment to that. Definitely spread that search wider than Toronto and Ontario, right? Yeah, definitely look across Canada for more affordable programs, lower cost of living, all of these things that Kristina mentioned. Definitely spread your wing wide when considering immigration options for sure. Ontario is not the only province which Canada has. There are many great provinces and territories. Check them out and see what works best for you.
Cool. Somebody asked, explain Canadian experience class. So in 2 sentences, What is CEC, Canadian
Yeah.
Experience Class? Kimberly asked that question.
Yeah, great question, Kimberly. In a nutshell, it's express entry for persons with Canadian experience. And effectively, that Canadian experience is at least 1 year in a NOC level O, A, or B within Canada at a given time. And usually persons that would have had that or been able to get that 1 year experience are those which would have gone through school, generally had their post graduate work permits, worked for that 1 year, and they now have become eligible for the CEC draw and would be in Canada at that given time, right? So that's effectively the difference there. So Canada is making that program is designated for persons that already have Canadian experience. So that is a fundamental difference there. Whereas FSW, another program under express entry, is for skilled workers outside that may not have that Canadian experience.
So I'm going to do something which probably we could have done at the very beginning. I've been on Zooms or lives before where I thought it was going to be this, and it was way over my head because I wasn't as informed as I needed to be to answer some of the to understand some of the terminology that you guys are using. So George is here saying, what are you talking about? Points? How do you check points? What are you guys talking about? So I'm going to do this very brief, hopefully, run through of the whole idea. So one of the most popular ways of coming to Canada is express entry. Express entry is point based. So you get points for your age, you get points for your education, you get points for work experience, you get points if you have a sibling in Canada. So different things tally up and you get points. The more points you get, the higher the possibility of being invited, because the points don't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed. Immigration has to call a number that is lower than your number usually. So if immigration says this month we want people with points 370 or more, if you are more than that, then your likelihood of being invited, when they're going to send an email saying we're inviting you to apply for permanent residency, then your points would have been sufficient and you would have gone to apply for permanent residency. How you check your points, there is this thing called comprehensive ranking tool or calculator that's available through the Canadian Immigration website. I also have a video on how to check the points. I think, George, one place that you need to start is to go to my video. I can probably find it, hopefully, if it's quick. 5 ways to move to Canada. I also have a blog on that, which will help you to just get your basic grounding on what everything means. I think about the blog, this one goes into a lot more detail, so you can check out both. So somewhere along, go along, I'm going to be answering that question in that, tagging that video in the chat. But it's a good place to start, just so you know that that's what points are. There's multiple ways to come to Canada. Express entry is one of the most popular, but it is not the only. And rural and northern pilot program, I know that some of the towns,
municipalities, communities.
Communities, that's the word I'm looking for. I know some of them did actually require points, almost like a mini express entry. Do you have? Right. So similar kind of thing where you have to get points.
Absolutely.
And all. So when we talk about points, that's what we're talking about, my friend.
Okay. Yeah. And another thing to just kind of generally keep in mind is that as eligibility criteria, each program will have different, but there's some that are core to Canada's immigration, which, as Kristina mentioned and we've mentioned through this chat, is work experience, English ability, language ability. Age is a big factor that is taken into consideration. And what else? So work experience, language ability, age. So those are some core ones that you need to keep in mind and think about. And generally, you find that going through each of the programs, in different extents, but definitely being a part of each program when considering eligibility and being able to apply under that program.
Cool. So I hope we caught you up to speed, George. That's Canada immigration in 1 minute.
So I have a question here. If I study a master's online at a Canadian university, will this benefit me after I am done to apply for PRC? And I'm presuming that's PR. So unfortunately, yeah. So any PR prospects emanating from studies in Canada would have to be you being in class, physically present, going through the program. Unfortunately, you will get points for your master's overall, and it being a Canadian master, but because you didn't do it physically, you won't be able to get certain points for Canadian experience and such moving forward. So yeah, it kind of just depends on what you're moving towards.
If I am interested in applying for a Canadian college or university, would you recommend an immigration consultant to apply for the college or university, or to apply for your temporary residence application? I guess you could answer both. I can just give you just my experience with using an immigration consultant to apply to the school for me. I found that process, it was easier for me to go to somebody and then they just applied on my behalf, because he was a representative of the school in my country. And so I didn't have to mail my transcript off to different schools in Canada. I kind of just gave him a true copy of my transcript. And then he was able to take that and photocopy it or whatever, scan it and send it to the school on my behalf and apply for me. So I found that was beneficial in terms of applying for school using somebody else. Now, not everybody has that benefit. Like Paul, for example, is not a representative of any particular school. So you wouldn't really help with that process, would you?
So generally, I'll provide general advice and guidance with that application process. But in terms of actually doing the application on your behalf and such, no, my role
specifically, but will help
for the school specifically. But when you're moving now to the immigration side of things, which is applying for your study permit, that's where I'm all in it. But I like to tell clients and those people I generally speak to is that I, as best as possible, try to facilitate and support end to end. So that is my general approach. But in terms of hands-on application to the school itself, no, generally I don't do that, but I can definitely point in the right direction, help you with certain things, and have you moving forward with that application for sure.
Tatienda asked another question that I think is very relevant. We covered it a little bit earlier, but is there an advantage to applying to a designated learning institute, or it makes no difference since I'll be applying as an international student? My answer to that is yes, there is an advantage to applying for a designated learning institute, because only a designated learning institute can you apply for, or only after attending one of those can you apply for a postgraduate work permit. I see a lot of people going to schools or applying to schools that are not designated learning institutes, not everybody, but some, and they're not getting their visa approved because they're just like, where are you going to this school for? Like, are you going to leave the country after? Paul can give his 2 cents as well on that question.
Yeah, I'll echo those sentiments. Yeah, so one of the big advantages to studying in Canada is getting that postgraduate work permit. So you're able there to get that Canadian experience and make your transition to permanent residency. If that's something that you want to do, it will make it that much easier. So definitely in weighing your considerations versus a designated versus non-designated, then you definitely lean towards a designated institution to get those perks and benefits for sure.
Yes. What about the home support workers who don't have degrees? Chanel is asking that question over on Instagram, which is a really good question. There are, I think, the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program and even the rural and northern programs have the avenues for people who don't have degrees necessarily, who only have maybe high school education and stuff like that, who if they want to be domestic workers or work in tourism or in the what do you call it, accommodation realm, hotels, even cleaning staff, different things. I think those programs definitely will help somebody like you, or if that's not you, a friend, if you're asking for a friend, will definitely help for people who do not have degrees. And then there's the, I think, live-in caregiver. However, I do not know what credential the living caregiver has to have to call himself a living caregiver. So I'm not even going through that one.
Yeah, I think subject to confirmation, but I think you need at least 1 year tertiary study for that program now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you can get in with secondary education.
But the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program and in the rural and northern program.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially, yes. Potentially. No
potentially, yeah.
Yes. Is it better to study for 1 year or 2 years to qualify for postgraduate work permit? Why? Girl, is that you a girl? I'm sorry. Yeah, queen. I got a 1 year postgraduate work permit because I went to school for 1 year and it was intense. The pressure to get it together real quick and to make sure I can get into a job that will get me the points that I need in time before my thing expire. So with that, with 1 year, you're gonna have to be very efficient. I was fortunate enough to get a job right walking out of school, and I was able to hold on that job for a year. But like everything was kind of like, so I applied for my postgraduate work permit 30 days before my study permit was going to expire, right? So I was always on the edge, like this thing going to expire in 30 days. I was on the implied status for several months. And then now I applied for permanent residency 6 days before my work permit was going to expire, right? Because I got my invitation to apply 2.5 months before it was going to expire. And I had to get my application together quick. I had to submit it quick and I had to be on the implied status. Thank God my employer understood and was okay with that. I was on the implied status from November to February. So if you have 2 years, you definitely have a lot more breathing room, especially given the pandemic. Like I don't know when things are going to go back to normal, when people are going to be hiring normal. I don't know what your job search is going to be like. It also depends on the field that you're in, different things. I'm in a field that was kind of not easy to get a job, but there's lots of jobs out there in that field. So 2 years gives you more reading room, but 2 years of school is a lot of money. So kind of I did 1 year because it's what I could afford.
Yeah. So that's effectively what it was down to, as Kristina mentioned. How much time do you have in Canada to get the mission complete? Effectively, with 1 year, you're going to get 1 year. With a 2 year, you're going to get 2 year. With a 3 year, you're going to get 3 years. 3 years is the maximum that you'll get for postgraduate qualifications. So yeah, depending on where you're at, that will definitely be a consideration in your decision going forward for sure.
One thing I kind of wanted to add to that, I wanted to share, I shared it with somebody recently, is that when I was in Canada, just going through the process, just trying to get my express entry thing going, trying to get my application, thinking that time was going to run out. What am I going to do? Scared, almost as if the thing expired and I had to go back to my home country for a little while, it was the end of the world. And it actually isn't. And when you're in it, it's so hard to see that because it's not like, okay, you work for your year. That's what's important. Work for all of the time that you have what you need to get the points for express entry. And if you have to go home for a little while and maybe work in your home country, or go home and apply for permanent residency, wait the 6 months and get it and go back to Canada, I'm not saying that's ideal, and it's when you're in that situation, it's hard to see that as a possible solution because it just feels like your dreams are being shattered. But it's absolutely not the end of the world if you have to leave for a little time and go back. It's a very stressful process. There were times when I remember my mommy called me one morning so work starts at 9 a.m. and she called maybe 9:10. But I'm always on my phone checking for immigration to call me or to email me, finding out about my application. And I was so irritable. I was so on edge. I'm like, yes, mommy, something bad happened. She's like, no, what are you talking about? Because I'm just in a bad place where I'm just waiting for immigration to respond. So it's very stressful. But it's not the end of the world if you have to go home for a little bit. I had to come home for a little bit. I'm home in my home country with my parents and all that stuff due to several different circumstances, and it's not the end of the world. Canada is there. I can go back. And that's the last thing somebody who isn't final, who doesn't have a passport, that's not what they want to hear. But I want to say that just as an encouraging word so that you don't get yourself into depression or anything like that.
Yeah. And let me jump on that at another perspective is that a lot of people, when they're thinking about immigration to Canada and the prospects of it, sometimes they think of it as a forever thing where it doesn't have to be, right? You know, Kristina is chilling in Jamaica right now. I'm here in Cayman. You know, so if it is that you know, you do you know, are successful with your immigration process in Canada, it doesn't have to be forever. You know, don't have that thought of this foreverness, you know, kind of prevent you from making a step or a leap if it is something that you really want. It doesn't have to be forever, guys, you know. So yeah, just keep that in mind, and just take it however you want it to fulfill whatever it is you want out of it, for sure.
Yes. Like I said, we can go on forever. It's 7 minutes to being on here for about an hour and a half. So I think at this point, we're going to try and wrap things up. I think that just given the fact that there is way more questions that we can answer, that maybe, who knows, Paul and I will try to do this again to help you guys. Remember, guys, to follow, to subscribe to Paul's YouTube channel. It's Kenny's Concepts. I think he's chatted here, but Paul, if you can, have the link to your thing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Jump in here, subscribe to his channel. Maybe the next live is over on his channel, you never know. So you want to keep tabs on both channels, keep tabs on Paul's Instagram. His name is Paul McAllister on Instagram. Some people, I don't know if anybody on here who knows about the product I used to offer, which is a job list with employers from Atlantic Canada and the employers, the job opening that they have, and contact information for the job. That's something that I used to offer through a third party. I no longer offer that. And somebody asked me that question yesterday, so I don't have that partnership anymore. However, if you go to Indeed.com is somewhere where you can search for jobs in Canada. If you go onto Indeed and type in Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, or just go into Google and search jobs in Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, it will give you a couple of openings. I did see that there was a big benefit in the list that I provided, and I'm sorry that I don't have it anymore. But as time goes on, you know, you don't know what could change. Maybe it will become available again, but right now it's not. So there's Paul's YouTube channel, Kenny's Concepts. Go ahead on over there, subscribe, guys. I think we have a number of people on here. If this was helpful to you, please hit the like button over on YouTube, or if there's something on Instagram, I don't know, hit the like button if this was helpful to you guys. We're so happy and also grateful to be here, to be able to serve you guys. We've been where you are on the process, asking so many questions, and kind of wish we had this resource when we were going through the process. And I did to some extent, where I joined online forums when I was doing permanent residency and when I was doing citizenship. And it was so helpful to find people, but there were people who were in the same boat as me. So they weren't necessarily able to advise me from a future standpoint. It was kind of like, we're all miserable, let's have a party. So that's that for me. I'm so happy that you guys are here, and you guys, two more people thought it was helpful. Guys, there are a couple of you guys on here. So I want to see like 6 more people smash the like button on on YouTube. And I'll hand over to Paul to say wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go, just one more question, Ricardo. I know you asked a great question about Atlantic. So you mentioned I pursued a post-diploma in tech and received a not me job that's not in tech. Will that be a red flag? No, you should be good to go. Don't worry about it. The not classification is generally the most important piece. There are some programs which ask for it to be show your studies or your experience, but generally you should be good to go as long as you're in that knock O, A, or B. So you're good to go. But yeah, as Kristina mentioned, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. It was a blast. This entire journey has been a blast. One of the things Kristina and I have definitely been talking about and chatting about is how we can collaborate moving forward to better serve our communities and be a benefit to you guys. So definitely stay tuned to those possibilities and prospects coming up in the future. But outside of that, thank you so much, Kristina. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for this collaboration. It has been amazing. And again, thank you to the community. Like without you guys, we wouldn't be here. All of this wouldn't be needed. So thank you to every single one of you on the live right now, not on the live, whether you were unable to make it or had something else to do, whatever it may be, but everybody in the community out there, thank you guys so much for joining us and being a part of this journey that we're all going through once again, right? So thank you guys. Thank you so much. And again, as Kristina mentioned, feel free to reach out to us, connect with us. We're on the social. Kristina posted a link for a quick survey if you need immigration advice. CanMove Immigration is the name of my practice. So yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to us, and we'll keep the dialogue going, and hopefully, get more and more people to achieve what they want to through Canadian immigration, for sure.
And there's one more thing I wanted to add. So I have a very interesting problem right now. The rain is falling, it's clearing, my windows are open. So I have to go really soon. But I wanted to say hi, Gio. I see you on Instagram. I also wanted to say that this is specific to COVID now, and there's a book that a good friend of mine has written. It's called Bouncing Back Through COVID-19, How to Survive a Year of Burnout after a year after the pandemic. And I really wanted to just kind of tell you guys about this book. It's a quick read. It's applicable to not only if you've had setbacks in your life due to COVID. It's just any adversity in life. It's a very practical book on just getting up and starting over, or getting up and shaking off and going again. And I'm always kind of promoting, keep the faith. I'm big on, and I know Paul is big on personal development and self-help stuff. So the link to that book is below. Full disclosure, I have no benefits for you buying that book. It's really just a friend of mine who wrote the book, and I really like it. So definitely check that book out. Get it. It's $3 for the Kindle version, like on your phone, and it's $9 for the book. I think it's a helpful guide to kind of dealing with what's going on in the world right now, which is ongoing, and we don't want to ignore it. So I love you guys for being on here. Thank you so much, Paul, for this collaboration. This has been so fun. I love watching our videos back. It's like I never seen them before, and we could go on for hours. And the next time we do this, we'll definitely let you guys know. Subscribe to Paul's channel, subscribe to him on Instagram, reach out to us if you want help, and we will definitely try to be there for you as best we can. And with that, I'd like to bid my adieu to deal with the rain and my windows. It's a chop, Paul. You said that yesterday. The rain and chop. It's a chop. So I gotta go. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. See ya.